Most people guess their way through automations. They copy templates and feel lost when they break. Beat. But today, we are shifting from guessing to architecting. Welcome to this deep dive.
It's really great to be here today.
We are exploring a master blueprint for N8N. We'll cover the factory mindset and step 0 triggers. We will also learn to read execution logs like a pro.
Yeah, and we'll discuss scaling with a VPS, plus logic routing, and exactly where AI belongs in your workflow.
Beat. So let's talk about that factory mindset.
People usually see N8N as just a way to connect apps. They drag a Google Sheets node onto the screen, then they try to wire it directly into Slack.
It feels like jamming incompatible Lego blocks together.
Right, and the pieces simply don't fit perfectly. You need to stop looking at isolated digital actions. Instead, see a system moving data smoothly through time.
Beat. So we treat our data like a physical object.
Exactly. Think of it like a massive physical manufacturing factory. Let's trace a real-world scenario today. Imagine a messy lead generation process for a growing business.
Raw materials enter the building at the very start.
Yes. And those materials change shape at different workstations. The factory makes automated decisions about the paths. Finally, a finished product leaves the building entirely.
So a new customer fills out a website form. That form submission is the raw material entering our building.
Right, and it starts moving down the factory conveyor belt. This mindset completely removes all the visual interface clutter. You stop seeing a confusing web of colorful brand logos.
You stop worrying about what each specific app technically does.
You just trace the physical path of your data, you look at a node and examine its specific job.
How does this factory mindset change the way we look at a messy screen of icons?
Well, it simplifies everything. You are no longer overwhelmed by the software brands. You just focus entirely on the data transformation itself.
So we just ask, how is this node changing my data?
Exactly. And that brings us to the start of the line. A lot of folks completely misunderstand the trigger node. They think it's just a simple automated start button.
Beat. But triggers dictate your data's exact shape at step 0.
They really do. There are 3 main types you'll use constantly. First, we have the basic scheduled time trigger node. It sends basic time data into your system regularly.
Think of it as a clock ticking on the wall.
Yeah, perfect for daily reports or weekly summaries. Next is the highly versatile webhook trigger node. A webhook is exactly like a digital doorbell handing off packages.
Another app rings the bell and drops off the payload.
Finally, we have the straightforward form trigger node. This captures exactly what users typed into specific web boxes.
Beat. The crucial rule is to always run the trigger once. You have to check the output tab before building further.
Always. That output tab is the absolute foundation of your workflow. Google Sheets gives you a nice clean list of rows, but webhooks often hand you a highly complex mess of text.
Let's go back to our lead generation example. Someone submits a form on our website.
Right, and that webhook rings the doorbell with a package. You might assume you just got a simple email address, but look closely at the output tab.
The system also sent their IP address and browser type.
And a messy server timestamp. It's a massive pile of unneeded digital garbage.
Why is skipping that first output check so dangerous?
Because if you assume the data shape, you're gambling. When you guess wrong, every downstream node eventually fails completely.
Without seeing the foundation, you're building the rest entirely blind.
Exactly. That brings us directly to the actual worker nodes. Every single node has 3 specific functional parts. The left side is your incoming raw data input.
Beat. The middle is the node configuration and specific instructions.
And the right side is your final clean data output. Raw data comes in, gets processed, and clean data leaves.
Let's look closely at the edit fields node.
It really is the absolute unsung hero of the N8N ecosystem. It doesn't send emails or update your CRM database. It just takes messy data and makes it perfectly clean.
Like our lead generation webhook payload we just discussed.
Perfect example. You have this massive payload with IP addresses attached. You only want the first name and the email address.
Use the edit fields node to map those specific requirements.
Yeah, you literally drag the email field into a new box. Then you drop the rest of the garbage completely.
Beat. Doing this means understanding some very basic JSON. A simple text format mapping keys to values, like a shopping list.
I love that shopping list analogy. Let's elevate it to a digital shipping manifest. The key is the written label on the cardboard box.
The label might clearly say the word email.
And the value is what is actually inside the box itself. The value is john@example.com. It's just a way for computers to agree on labels.
Why use a node just to drop data we already have?
Because clean data prevents massive headaches down the line later. Extra data makes the system extremely difficult to read. It clutters your execution logs and uses unnecessary server memory.
Cleaning the data early makes the entire workflow faster and much easier to read.
Exactly. And this becomes incredibly important when your workflows inevitably break down. Professional system builders actually love these unexpected system failures.
Love is a very strong word for a broken system.
They love them because execution logs reveal absolute truth. The execution log tells you exactly what failed instantly.
Usually, the N8N software isn't actually broken itself.
Instead, you almost always have a simple data mismatch problem. A node expected one specific thing but got another thing.
Like an empty email field causing a massive red error.
Right. The amateur builder stares angrily at the email node. They waste hours treating the symptoms of the problem. But the execution log shows the email field was completely empty.
So you start your detailed investigation back at the trigger node.
You click each processing node, moving forward step by step. You check output A against the next input B. You find exactly where the data started looking very weird.
You track the bad material back up the supply chain. Why do we fix the sending node instead of the failing node?
Because the node throwing the error did nothing wrong technically. You have to fix the node that sent the corrupted package.
You have to cure the actual disease, not just treat the symptom. Insert sponsor read here. Beat.
Welcome back to our deep dive. We have talked extensively about how to build the factory. But where you actually build this factory matters tremendously. It's the most critical infrastructure decision you will make.
Cloud options are easy, but they have strict execution limits. They charge a recurring fee and get expensive as you grow.
Yeah, and the local laptop option stops when closed. The professional way is to use a dedicated VPS setup.
Let's define a VPS right now. A private computer in the cloud that stays on 24/7.
Exactly. A standard VPS gives you absolute architectural freedom. Let's compare this directly to something like a Zapier account.
Zapier charges you a restrictive fee for every single automated task.
Every single action costs you a valuable workflow credit. It aggressively punishes you for being a successful business.
If our system captures 10,000 daily leads, it drains money.
Your bill will absolutely destroy your monthly operational budget. Self-hosting N8N eliminates this financial anxiety completely for serious users. You pay one predictable flat fee for the server power. Whoa. Imagine scaling to 1 billion queries.
Beat. That kind of massive scale is hard to even grasp. How does that flat fee change the way you design automations?
It changes your fundamental philosophy of technical system design. You stop trying to cram everything into fewer steps.
You stop optimizing workflows just to save arbitrary task counts.
Right. You build the absolute best, most robust system possible. You design for reliability instead of cheap cost-saving shortcuts.
It gives you the freedom to build massive systems without fearing the monthly bill.
Exactly. And when you build massive systems, you need strict control logic. You must carefully guide your data paths through the factory.
This involves 3 very specific types of logic routing nodes. First, we have the incredibly powerful filter logic node.
Think of the filter node as an aggressive security guard. It looks at your incoming data and asks for permission. Are you actually allowed to pass this specific physical point?
So in our ongoing lead generation workflow example today, we only want valuable leads originating from the United States.
Right. You set the strict filter to match the country field. If it's not the US, the data stops dead. It's rejected and removed from the factory line entirely.
Next, we have the highly useful router control node. A router acts exactly like a fork in the road.
Yeah, a fork in the road is a great analogy.
When would you use a router instead of just a filter?
Well, a router doesn't reject data like a filter does. It simply organizes valid data into different distinct categories. Path A sends high-value leads straight to a Slack sales alert.
And path B sends low-value leads to a general MailChimp campaign.
Exactly. It routes the traffic without destroying any of the vehicles.
Filters stop data completely, while routers just send it to a different destination.
Precisely. And finally, we have the essential data merge node tool. You might have 3 different paths processing different lead information.
But you eventually want it back in one single list.
The merge node brings those split streams seamlessly back together. You can combine them beautifully for one final daily report.
Speed. Okay, let's get into the topic everyone always asks about. People want to throw artificial intelligence at every single workflow step.
Right, and that is a massive architectural mistake every single time. AI should never be the core engine of your entire workflow.
It's incredibly slow and highly unpredictable by its nature.
You must put it at the very end of your factory line. You only let it touch data that is already perfectly clean.
So we use it as a highly specialized factory worker.
Exactly. An AI node generally has 4 specific configurable parts. First is the underlying predictive model itself. You might use GPT-4o for complex logical reasoning tasks.
Or you might use Gemini for faster, cheaper, simpler processing jobs.
Right. The second part of the AI node is memory, which you should usually safely disable for single data items.
Third, you have external tools, like giving it web search capabilities.
But the fourth part is the absolute most critical piece, the output parser configuration.
Why is the output parser the most important piece to the AI node?
Because AI models naturally want to write chatty conversational paragraphs. They want to say, here is the data you requested today.
That extra conversational text breaks automated workflows instantly.
The output parser forces the AI to return a strict, structured list.
It forces the AI to give you clean data for the next step.
Exactly. You must give it strict, systematic points to check, always. I tell the AI exactly what to find systematically. I show it exactly what perfectly parsed JSON looks like.
Beat. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself. It feels like hitting a moving digital target sometimes.
It certainly takes real practice to get these instructions perfect, but you also have to consider data privacy with AI models.
If you use big companies, you send your valuable leads away.
But you can use a powerful private tool called Llama instead.
A tool to run AI models privately on your own server.
Yes. This means the local AI reads your data right there. It analyzes the specific lead and drafts a custom welcome email.
This completely avoids paying for every single external AI request.
And it gives you complex answers without sensitive data ever leaving.
It's beat. We have covered a truly massive amount of ground today. Mastering N8N isn't about memorizing complex interface buttons.
You definitely don't need to know how to write code. If you know basic Excel logic, you're fine.
It's fundamentally a massive mental paradigm shift entirely.
Yeah.
You are treating data like a real physical object moving constantly.
It moves smoothly through a highly efficient digital factory. You keep your individual worker nodes very small, always.
You rely entirely on detailed execution logs for ultimate truth. You use advanced AI only as a specialized final worker.
Yeah. And you run everything securely on your own private server. You are no longer just a basic automation user today.
You are a professional digital data architect right now.
You are building machines that work for you day and night.
Now that you understand how to control the exact shape of your data through time, what massive, complex process in your life could you hand over to a machine tomorrow?